Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your coffee, your tea, and let's sit back and talk about the astrology, human design, and no, I didn't pull an oracle report this morning, or an oracle card, excuse me. But we still have quite a bit to talk about. I hope everybody is doing well today after our day of Uranus moving into Taurus. It felt like almost an anticlimactic day where for now almost a year we have been anticipating that very day, and the excitement building, and it feels like it was a washout. I'm kind of glad, though. I'm kind of glad there wasn't anything big and monstrous that happened. I think, that what we talked about yesterday in terms of things like a steamroller having to pick up the steam to get that bulk moving. When we have a planet that moves into Taurus, it's that this lightning energy meets this immovable object, and it's going to take time to get the ball rolling. Good morning, Mimi. Good morning, Suzanne and Roseanne. It's good to see you ladies out there. And I hope all of you are doing well this morning. Today is another day in our continuing energetic build up to some of these big changes that are happening. They may not be so visible at the moment, but under the surface, there are things that are moving, much like the volcano in Hawaii, that you've got this evidence, this magma that every once in a while is popping up through fissures and creating havoc. It is very much the same in the astrological atmosphere, where things are being stirred up, right? The energy is being stirred up. And today that is thanks in part to Mars, who's now moved to 0 degrees of Aquarius, and that puts him in an exact square with the planet Uranus, which is now at 0 degrees of Taurus. Remember, square is a 90-degree angle. And in astrology, that is a challenging aspect. Now, challenges in astrology, or even in your personal astrology, aren't about punishing you or about creating a situation where you don't have what you need. It's about creating a situation from which growth can take place. It's that resistance that we need to start the fire, right? When we go to start a fire, we don't just say, hey, fire, start. We have to do something, whether it's rubbing sticks together, rubbing flint, or a match. Something has to happen, and the catalyst for that is usually the planet Mars. And so Mars is our catalyst energy. Once again, Mars is usually that planet that we think of as starting the trouble, right? It could be starting trouble. It could be starting something new. It could be the energy behind what we need to get a new fire started. But you've got to remember, too, that Aquarius is also a fixed sign, like Taurus. And fixed signs are more steady eddy, right? They like to sort of stay in place. It takes a lot of energy injection to get them to move, to get them to see the light. But once they get on board, then you can't stop that change. So right now, maybe take a breath, because as soon as this Mars catalyst has lit the fire, it'll be very difficult to put out that fire and difficult to manage it once we get it rolling. So I want you to think of Mars in this case. From now until June 26th, it'll move up to 9 degrees of Aquarius. Then it turns retrograde and will move backwards across 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way back to 28 degrees Capricorn. During that entire time, Mars is within orb of a square to Uranus. So even though today is the point, right, the point at which they're in exactly that degree span, there's still the after effects and the repeat of this energy, and then the new expression of that energy over the course of time from now all the way through to November. So if you think today's a done deal, get that out of your head. Mars right now is in his military scout sort of of costume, right? He's like that advanced scout looking for places where he can stir the pot, looking for territory in which he can create his specific brand of upheaval, or kind of the mischief maker, if you will. Only this isn't mercurial mischief. This is actually deliberate, planned action, right? Designed to upend different things that he might come in contact with. He is instigating something, right? We always remember when you were a kid, there was always, a friend that you could think of as the instigator. Like, maybe, like, I was never the troublemaker, but I could often find myself in the group of people that were instigating that kind of thing. But I always left an exit door open where I could exit. But right now, I don't think any of us have exit doors. I think we are all actually going to be a part of these big changes that are going to be happening. And right now, you could think of Mars as poking the bear, or is it the bull? Right? Bear and bull. As soon as you get that imagery in your head, you think finances, you think the financial markets, etc. To me, I think about this as being energy that where we want to assert our independence, right? We want to abruptly and assert ourselves in a way that we force change, right? Either in our own lives, or like Kim Jong-un yesterday, who suddenly decided where he's pulling out of the talks with the US and the South Korea. He has a strategy. No doubt what he's doing is attempting to force a change, right? He's thinking that if we want to get him to the table badly enough, we might make some concessions to get him back in the fold. And it'll be interesting to see whether we arise to that level, whether we give him something, whether we make these concessions. I don't know. The other problem here is that this is an energy that has little patience for these kind of constraints, for these little games, for these limits. And we have a president that's shown very much this lightning bolt sort of action and inability to restrain himself. So it'll be interesting to see, as other people in the government have tried to restrain him, he breaks free of those restraints every time and does his little Twitter rants or whatever, makes changes that are sometimes designed, I think, just to piss people off because maybe they hurt him. He and Kim Jong-un are cut from the same cloth, only expressing them in different ways. So this is really going to be an interesting time because this is a power struggle in the making. And the power struggle between Mars and Uranus is electric. It is dynamic, and it can bring about impulsive or risky behavior, taking us to the brink. Now, in our own lives, where are we doing this, right? Where is it that we are being taken to the brink? Good morning, Debbie. Happy to see you out there. Wow. Debbie is a really good friend of mine. She lives in Panama City in Florida and usually doesn't get to join us in the morning. I'm not sure what, I think, Debbie, don't you just kind of get busy in your day and then you miss this? I don't know, but it's good to see you out there. Lila, haven't seen you in a while either. Haha, she says exit door. How Piscean. There is that part of it, but exit door to me is also very Aquarian because Aquarius waffles a bit on whether to commit or not, right? But once committed, there is no more exit door. It's full on take action and I'm behind you squarely. I didn't want to say exactly where you live, Debbie, so I was just giving a general area. But she's saying that she was in Lynn Haven in Florida. And anyway, so today's energy is highly crazy, right? Crazy-ish. I feel it within me too. I felt like yesterday I really wanted to have a temper tantrum over nothing. Nothing happened. There wasn't anything that was really no trigger except in my own head, perhaps something I was thinking about, something that I can't even tell you, but I was really upset with whatever. And that energy today just feels like it's still simmering there for us. And, Kilauea Volcano, I think, is probably one of the best out picturings of what's going, right? Where you've got this bulk of energy that's below the surface, and the only thing we see is when a crack opens up and magma bursts through or flows out of it. And so we really can get an inkling of the pressures that are building. We can get an inkling of how this is building to a point of breaking, but we haven't been able to see yet what explosive behavior this will lead to. And that's exactly what is happening for us all. I mean, if the earth is showing us that through the guise of a volcano, then think of yourself as also this volcano, this potential volcano, and what is simmering in the recesses of yourself, right? With the recesses of your mind, what is bubbling up through the cracks. I had a friend, Michelle, yesterday. I don't see her in here yet this morning, but Michelle yesterday was telling me that for 2 days now, she has been on this triple digit thing. No matter where she goes, no matter what she's doing, triple digits keep showing up. Even into when we were talking, um, it was 444 yesterday afternoon. And it's just crazy because these number runs are pointing her to some direction. There's also a song that keeps coming to her attention, and it isn't one that's a current song. It's a Michael Bublé song, and it's an older one that he's done, and yet it keeps coming up. She'll turn on the radio and there's this song. And so, there is this feeling or this energy of things bubbling up to the surface, telling us something, pointing us in some direction. Sometimes it's hard to read that energy. I don't know where my frustration or upset or anger came from yesterday, but it's something bubbling up from the surface. And let's say Suzanne says, same here with the triple digits. Interesting, right? Suzanne, you're not a Virgo or a Libra, aren't you? Debbie says, same here. Okay, what are you up to, girl? You are looking more beautiful and younger every day. Oh my gosh, it's makeup. I'm telling you, it's makeup. This morning when I woke up, no lie, people, I swear to God, I had a crease. Now let's see, I'm looking backwards. So it was this eye here, a crease all the way across here, like I'd been sleeping with my hand here or something and scrunched up my eye. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to fix that in time? So yeah, makeup does wonders, doesn't it? But thank you, Debbie. That is very sweet of you. Mimi says, exactly. Things are sitting on high heat in lots of places, like waiting for the possible boiling point. Mimi, I think you just hit the nail on the head. And I think that was the source of my irritation, is that anticipation is killing me, right? The anticipation of what is this bringing to us? Where are we going with this energy? What is going to happen? I want to know. I hate that part of myself, right? I always want to know. I really am not one that likes surprises. I like to know. I like to know, are we going to war with North Korea? Is there going to be a crash in the financial system? Blah, blah, blah. I want to know. I don't want to wait for the surprise. But of course, all of that is totally out of my control. It is out of your control. And so here we have this idea then that we are sort of at the behest of energies that are much larger than us, and we have not even one iota of control. The only thing we can control is our own selves, our reactions to the things that do show up or don't show up, such as the case may be. And it's really important for us to know that, because otherwise we ourselves become like that pot that's reaching its boiling point. And with the threat of the lid blowing sky high, the pressure breaking out, and that pressure in our physical beings breaks out through heart attacks, through strokes, through burnout, through many types of physical degradation. And that is something we don't need. We need our health. We need our vitality. So finding ways to release the steam. And that means getting back to what you love. And I'm going to show you an interesting dynamic that I noticed this morning. Of course, I've been noticing this. And you and I, we've all talked about this in terms of the configuration that I see in the charts. And I'm going to show you this that I drew. And I'm going to turn it a little bit because I want you to see Let's see, Janet, you turned it upside down. There we go. Remember, we were talking about how the planets were sort of making a bucket. So I drew the bucket in, kind of looks like an umbrella now that I think about it, and or a fan that's wide open, right? And the planet that's holding the handle up here is Jupiter, right? Jupiter's now holding the handle. All the other planets are down here and they're holding a bunch of energy. And so the planet at the handle or at the stem of the umbrella becomes the point of release, right? That's where all of this energy is releasing to. It's being reached out to by the planets within the bucket for what is lacking, for what it's lacking, right? This one piece isn't in the bucket, it's outside the bucket. So it's like an arm, right? It's just reaching out to connect to Jupiter in this case, in retrograde in Scorpio. So the high side of all of this is now we can confront what we've previously been lacking or what we've previously ignored in our lives. And I'm going to give you a little bit of insight in terms of what's been this lacking in my own personal life, because it's been rather interesting. And I'm sorry, my CD player thing keeps popping out of my computer. Who knows why? In my own life, I have personally been flirting with for months, for years, with this energy of writing a book, writing a teaching program, a training program for people who want to learn more about astrology, who want to learn more about human design. And I flirt with it and then I put it away because I get frustrated with it. So Jupiter in Scorpio here is begging us to confront those things that we've been ignoring. An opportunity that's been sort of tantalizingly sitting out here that you've been ignoring for whatever reason. I know why I've been ignoring it, because it's a self-worth issue, like I'm not good enough to do this kind of issue. Right now is a great time to confront this. Take this burbling energy of stuff that we can't do anything about and focus it, limit it, bring it in, reel it in, and focus it at this energy that you've been previously ignoring in your own life. Lila, oh my God, Janet, please write a book. The world needs it. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. I love all of you, by the way. And now I'm getting chills. I've written, I have thumb drives here with books on them, with all kinds of stuff on them. And then I go, oh, that's been said before. Oh no, I'm not capable of. I'm inadequate to the task. I don't even have gate 48 in my chart. It's open. So there's some little devil within me that I've yet to confront. But here we have this opportunity to confront our little devils. What is it that's holding you back? What is it that you are not yet authentically connected to in your own life, right? Debbie and Mimi, you guys know each other? Deb says, she's saying hello. Hey, Mimi says, hey, Deb, hugs. Love to my bud, Mimi. I did not know you knew each other. That's pretty awesome. Lila says, astrology community needs more female voices. That is true. That is very true, Lila. And I think what astrology as a community needs more of in the first place is a rewrite, if you will, of what some of these energies mean. I mean, it's an older subject, and unlike a lot of the scientific subjects that have been brought into current usage, current days, has evolved, astrology really hasn't evolved much. The meaning of the planets has stayed pretty much the same throughout all of this time. And yet, there's a lot of new planets out there, new asteroids or protoplanets. What do they call those things? Dwarf planets that are out there for us to begin to use. And I use a lot of things that I think other astrologers don't use. And maybe that's my in. I don't know. But I think, we are needing to move astrology ahead, right? Not because it's not pertinent anymore, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the way the world has changed. So let's see. Mimi says, yes, we lived close by and played together in Florida. That's awesome. Yeah, she is one of my best friends. And I became a Reiki master from my master, Mimi. We belonged to Capstone House. I had no idea. That is so fabulous. That is how I ended up connected with Mimi, I guess, then. Through you, Debbie. I had no idea. Mimi and I play words with friends behind the scenes. Like every moment I have a chance, I'm on that going, okay, who's played a word? It helps me release some of the pent up tension that I have when I find these awesome words, or don't, such as the case can be with these games. Anyway, so what's in your bucket? Good question, right? Capital One. What's in your wallet? But instead, what's in your bucket? What have you been holding on to? Have you ever heard of the frog in the well syndrome? I think his name was Jeffrey Wolf. He wrote a book on Pluto, and I have my Pluto in the second house. And so, of course, I just keyed right in. What's Pluto in the second house mean? And he was talking about this frog in the well syndrome. And the frog at the bottom of the well looks up and only sees a piece of the sky. Now, you and I know from being outside of that well that the sky is endless, that the horizon is as far as we can see. But the frog at the bottom of the well can only see this one little slice. And if he believes that that's all there is of the world, that's all he is ever going to see of the world. So like us now with the bucket pattern that we so clearly can see here, right? Bucket. What's in our bucket? What's in the bucket that isn't being seen, that isn't being brought out? And the way to bring it out now is to pull in some of this Jupiter and Scorpio energy. And Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio, right? It's retrograde still. And in Scorpio lets us look into the bucket. What's down there? What's down in the bucket of my life that I have yet to express? What's down in the bucket that I can grab a hold of and bring back out to the light of day so it can see the whole of the horizon and not just a little piece of the bucket, or excuse me, a little piece of the sky. And when we're able to do that, we have something better to focus our energy on than the lightning and fiery energy of these things that are going on in the outer world, which we really have zero control over. I hope that helps. I hope that gives you something to think about over the course of these next few weeks, months, as we're watching the Mars Uranus dance that's going on and seeing what is picking up steam out there, what isn't, what's the likely direction that things are going to be going into, and wheeling it in, making sure it's your own life that you are concerned with and what's in your bucket, bringing it out. Okay, what about today? What is the day doing today? Mimi, Cavern of Socrates. Cavern of Socrates. Something's niggling at me about that. Maybe you can type a little bit more, or maybe I will look that up for us. Natasha, good morning. She says, you are you, they are them. You have your way of reaching, these others don't. Go for it. Write and teach. I love it. Look at these little icons that she puts here, or emojis. Good morning, Michelle. The muscle and the smile, the muscle and the smile, the smile and the muscle. I kind of like that. Thank you, Natasha. That's very sweet of you. Michelle, we were talking about you earlier. We were talking about how you were seeing triple digits all day yesterday, all day the day before, and the Michael Bublé song that keeps repeating. And I can't remember the name of the song, but maybe type it in there for us so people will know what song has been repeating in your life, because I think it's kind of fun when these things happen. It is so wonderful to understand that the world is always talking to us. Yesterday, she had a spider. Yesterday, I had a horsefly. Who knows what these messages are necessarily? I didn't go looking for the horsefly message. Mimi says, the people in the cave feared the shadows on the wall. One brave soul turned to face the light and goes out into the world. And the other two stay in the cavern, I bet, right? The other two stay in that cavern. And maybe she'll tell us more about that in a minute. Well, today we have the moon in Gemini all day, my favorite sign. My favorite sign with the moon in it brings us about up to ideas, expressing new ideas, following our curiosity. Like right now, I'm just dying to know more about the cave, the cavern of Socrates, and what's going on. That is the typical thing that happens to me on a daily basis. And I usually call it pulling threads, right? Some interesting tidbit comes up, and I follow it until I can understand what it means either for me or for you all or for the world at large. It's really fascinating to do this. And it is also a day of more social connection, as Gemini is typically flirtatious and gabby and chatty and is usually the one that is the life of the party, very communicative. Lila has, okay, the allegory of the cave. So I'm going to post this, Lila, or show this allegory of the cavern, I think is what that might say. But it's also, she's put the link here in the conversation that's going on Facebook. So if you're interested, like me, in finding out what this stuff means, you can click on the link in the chat and follow that. But do that when the broadcast is over. Don't do it now. Because I still have more stuff to tell you. So moon in Gemini all day, happy-go-lucky Gemini. But the moon is also squaring Neptune today. Oh yeah, Michelle saying not just a spider. She was driving down the road and he crawled along the ceiling toward the windshield, then disappeared. And he wasn't small either, from what I remember her saying, that, he was, nickel size or something like that. That would freak me out too, even though I like spiders. But having one in close contact isn't a good thing when you're driving, for sure. Um, so anyway, another exciting thing happening for us today is the moon is squaring Neptune. I say exciting, but a lot of people look at this energy as, in some way, the truth is being hidden from us, right? There's deception in the air. There's delusions, things that we're not seeing clearly, and we're not perceiving perhaps the truth, or we're deliberately being lied to, right? That could be something else that, as we see the things that are happening in our outer world, especially here in the US, where, I swear every day there's something new and crazy out there. But is it the truth? Right? That's the deeper question when the moon is in square to Neptune. Am I seeing things clearly, or is there's this shroud of energy around that is deluding me or deceiving me? We are also emotionally sensitive today. The moon squaring Neptune brings that energy of empathy up to the surface, empathy and compassion. Neptune rules the sign of Pisces, and so we get connected up with that energy of compassion, but also the energy of being victims. And so we want to be walking a fine line here. Know that you're emotionally sensitive, and if somebody says something or does something that you perceive as hurtful, reel it in. It's your own thing to deal with. It isn't the other person's fault. It isn't something they maybe if they deliberately did something to you, that's some cause for you to respond. But even then, I'd be very careful about it, because there's just something not clear, and we are already emotionally sensitive. This also ups the psychic connection that we have, the psychic energy. I got to share something with you guys that happened to me last night. Maybe some of you've experienced this too, where coming out of sleep or out of a dream, you hear I like drums beating, or something like very loud rumbling going on, and next thing you know, you're awake. Have any of you ever experienced something like that? This happened to me last night, not long after I went to sleep. My husband's clock said 12:30, so it was probably about 11:45, because he can't have the clock say the right time. It has to be 45 minutes ahead. So literally, I'd gone to bed at 11, so it really wasn't all that much longer after I fell asleep, and I heard this rumbling, and more than hear it, I felt it. Right, it was like tumbling out of the dream state, but there was a sound associated with it. And when I woke up, I was laying here and I could hear like banging of something. And I woke my husband up because I thought literally someone was at my front door. And I made him get up to go check because, I didn't want to be the one to do that. God help me. And he gets up and I'm, behind him and we both peek around the corner and there's nobody at the door. It was the weirdest dang experience. And I don't know why. I don't know how that happened, but all I can think of is now with this moon squaring Neptune is a message being delivered. Maybe it's not a conscious message yet. It's an unconscious delivery that I've yet to piece together, perhaps. But know that your psychic perceptions are heightened and it may be very difficult to read what they mean. I have no idea what any of this meant. And I have no idea why that sound was associated with it. I mean, in on one level, I was thinking earthquake. Is there an earthquake? Was I interpreting the rumbling sound of Kilauea, the volcano? I don't know. I don't know. And that's kind of the irritating thing sometimes about psychic awareness when we have the moon squaring Neptune, is there's not clarity around what it is. So that is a part of our day, and it is just a part of something we're going to have to be okay with and understand that, like Michelle, where the spider is a sign, the triple digits running is a sign, maybe my horsefly was a sign, and maybe this, drum beat coming up from my dream is a sign, and it will be revealed later as to what its meaning is. So don't give up hope if you're seeing these things out there, if you're intuiting something out there, all will be revealed. Michelle's telling me that I live on native land. I do live on native land. You're right. You're right. I do live on native land and the Samish tribe. And I live on Samish Island. And the chief of their tribe is buried on this island. I have gone to his grave many times and made offerings of shells and rocks and flowers and corn. And it's interesting. I never thought of that, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder of where I live. So anyway, interesting day we have, interesting time. Just remembering that I think we're all going to be feeling at various times this energy of impatience, of anger, of that confrontation that we want to see or have or be a part of, and then backing down from it. Um, the the one thing I would say to watch out for is risky or impulsive behavior. Try not to get engaged in anything that is going to be impulsive or risky, unless, of course, you're following your human design type and strategy and your authority. And by the way, yesterday I loved the conversation. It was, let's see, who was that yesterday? It was Tina and somebody else who was asking really great questions about human design and about the chart. And I loved that. I love that kind of interaction. And it excites me that people are really catching on to human design because I really love the idea of human design and how it can create this template for us to follow in our own personal lives, and how I'm designed to be different than you're designed to be. And yet we can all align ourselves with our design to get to where we need to be in our lives. So again, if you need your human design chart, you can go to my website, www.living-astrology.com, get your free chart. Or if you need a reading, I have that available for you as well. Reminder, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. East Coast time, I will be on Angie Witzel's page. She will be doing a Facebook Live broadcast with me as her guest. We'll be talking about human design, and we'll be talking about some interesting things, I'm sure, between star seeds and astrology and human design. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait. Lila says, I have the moon at 4 degrees Leo squaring Pluto in Scorpio. Wow, you are feeling it, my dear. Yes, you are. I am doing a chart for someone today who is very much in this and is very young, very young. 1990. So she's what, 20 or 1992. So she's like about 27 years old. Difficult time moving into the first Saturn return with all of this gobbledygook happening. Yeah, I envy that. Not. So I get to help guide her through this time in her life, which then makes me really realize that my two sons, born in 90 and 91, also are having the same sort of energy appearing in their lives. So it made me go, got to pull their charts and take a look and see what's going on. Debbie says, will you post a link, please? Absolutely. As soon as, and Angie's not with us this morning, so I'm going to reach out. Oh, I'm doing her human design reading tomorrow morning. So I will definitely be able to get that link and post it. I believe it's just her Facebook page, her Angie Witzel Facebook page, but I'll find that link and post it. And I think that's all I have for you today. I'm kind of tapped out. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. In the meantime, I love you all. Thank you for joining me this morning, and I will see you tomorrow morning and maybe even tomorrow afternoon or evening if you're in the East Coast. And in the meantime, have a great day. We'll see you all later. Bye for now.